Attention Caribbean authors and creators, are you looking to elevate your literary journey? This is Kevin George, your host and presenter from TLC Tropical Literature Creatives, and I'm thrilled to share an exciting opportunity with you, introducing our bespoke promotional services designed exclusively for authors of Caribbean heritage. Whether you're a seasoned professional or a rising star, we're here to amplify your voice. From getting the word out about your book launch, your self-publishing services, or workshops, to sharing services that you offer to fellow authors and creatives. Visit our website or reach out to us today to explore how we can tailor our expertise to showcase your literary brilliance. Let's unlock the next chapter of success together. Greetings, listenership. Welcome to TLC Tropical Literature Creatives, the podcast where we interview authors of Caribbean heritage about themselves and about their literary works. This is another interview that has been a long time coming, and finally we've been able to get the interview underway. Today we have with us Latoyaa Roberts. Latoyaa, welcome to Tropical Literature Creatives.
Welcome. Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Oh, well, it's really good that you agreed to be interviewed, Latoyaa. Just for those who are listening, which Caribbean island are you from?
Well, I'm from the beautiful Caribbean island of Trinidad and Tobago, and specifically, I live on the smaller island, Tobago.
Ah, okay. Usually I ask persons, I give a scenario. I don't ask it to everyone these days, but the scenario is this. Imagine someone was coming to Tobago for the first time and you're leaving and you encounter them in the airport and they say, Latoyaa, I'm here for the first time. What do you recommend that I do? What food should I try or what place should I visit? What would you recommend to me?
Well, I think if you're coming to Tobago for the first time, the place that you have to go to is Buca Reef because we're known for our beaches, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And for food, we do have crab and dumpling as one of the top meals, but I also like a good kawil soup.
Listeners, you heard it from Latoyaa herself, from Tobago. You gotta try those things when you go there. All right, Latoyaa, are you a full-time author?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a full-time author. What I'll say is I'm a full-time communicator because that is my job as a communication specialist. But within that job field, I do have a lot of time and emphasis on writing a lot. So I do write a lot of content daily.
Ah, okay. Well, I could testify to that because I went to your website and I see that where writing is concerned, you're really active on a number of articles that you've put together. You wrote a number of articles ranging from topics such as sex offender registries to I can't remember the rest, but there were a good few that got my attention. And I'm thinking to myself, when it is that I communicated with you, the information that I got was that you wrote a book of poems. And here it is, this woman is she's writing the most, not just poetry, but there are other articles in which she is very invested in and she has published.
Well, yes, definitely. For me, I do see myself as a freelance writer and content producer. So I write on a variety of platforms. One of them is called Caribbean Insight Magazine, and we feature all things Caribbean. We do from lifestyle, education, health, women, arts and culture, food. So we do a lot of topics that I think appeal to the Caribbean audience, appeal to the diaspora, appeal to people who want to know about the Caribbean.
I didn't know that. So I think I have to just brush up on my reading because that is something that sounds really interesting.
Yes, it does, definitely. And the thing about it is that some of the articles aren't necessarily like hardcore news articles. It's more light lifestyle, flavorful stuff. There is one about how to get a Caribbean man and keep him. And
Oh,
there's the opposite of how to get a Caribbean woman and keep her also.
interesting,
So
interesting.
yes, we have different angles to our articles. So do have a read.
Ah, okay. Well, I definitely would be trying to get my hands on a copy of that particular piece of literature. Speaking of literature, your book, Poems by Latoyaa Roberts, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So I began this writing process at the end of 2020. I think during COVID time, you have a lot of free time on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of my traditional long writing articles, I decided to compile one poem, two poem, and then it just spurred into a collection. So it took me about 2 to 3 months, I would say, to produce the entire collection of about 60 something poems in it. And then I decided, okay, I have all these ideas and thoughts together. Instead of publishing it as individual poems online, why not just compile it into a book and publish the book? And the book is really an anthology of my life. I would have separated the poems into 5 thematic areas that deals with the things that I'm interested in. So the themes range from women in society, also civil society movements and NGOs, because I belong to a lot of NGOs and civil society movements in the Caribbean. Also, inspiration and motivation is one theme. The next theme is because I love to travel. Some of the poems takes a journey with me to many of the places I've been to all over the world and my perspectives there. And then lastly, I left the last section dealing with life on a small island, the island girl, life in Tobago, and what that is like, and the cultures and the unique aspects and the characteristics of my island is there in that section.
Well, I mean, from the groups of items that you call out there, it seems like a diverse group of topics that you cover. I mean, I'm interested in all of them, but for now, I mean, the interview could only allow for so many questions. Tell us a little bit about the groups that you're a part of, because in doing research, I see that you are a member of the Tobago Writers Guild, the Tobago Visual Arts Association, the Caribbean Creative Network, and the Artist Registry of the Government of Trinidad and Tobago. You mind telling us a little bit about some of these?
Sure. Well, as a creative, I think one of the greatest things creatives can do is really always form collections and movements. And because of my interest in literature and just general writing and publication, I've been a member of the Tobago Writers Guild, which is a collection of authors, writers based in the island here of Tobago. So we are that support network to encourage literary appreciation, to support other writers in their work, and also as a community organization to give back in society. So that organization exists for all writers or budding writers. And if you're based in the island of Tobago, and even if you're based in Trinidad, still check us out. And we also do a lot of collaborations and promotions with different writers and stuff throughout the region. So that is the core purpose of Tobago Writers Guild. I think my passion with Tobago Arts Association came about because I've always been much of an art collector. So I travel a lot and I collect a lot of art, and then dealing with the local creatives here, I also experience and purchase art. So I've been a secretary of that association for many years, also been a member for quite a number of years. And I think it's just that appreciation for our cultural industries and the indigenous things that make us who we are. And I'm happy about being a part of that association. So the other one, what was the other one? Too many to count.
I mean, there were 4 in total. Yeah, the first was the Tobago Writers Guild. Then we had the Visual Arts Association. Then we had the Caribbean Creative Network.
Right. So the Caribbean Creative Network is really a collective of art practitioners all over the Caribbean region. The organization is based more in Jamaica through Kingston Creatives, which is a program that has been developed to really support creative persons based in Jamaica initially and then spread throughout the region. And during COVID, over the last 2 years during COVID, they had a program called the Catapult Grant that really was like an enabler grant to help creatives who, you're home, COVID, you're not getting an income, that sort of thing. So we would have had a lot of network meetings, supporting each other. There's even a cultural creative platform. So you can Google and check out the different creatives in that database and really connect with people who are doing similar work like you, or if you're looking for partnership or collaboration, or even to develop your proposal or your projects and your ideas, etc., you could tap into that database and that network. So I think we're doing a lot of good work there as an ecosystem for support and resources for creatives.
It sounds like a really great resource. And I think networking is the way to go, because sometimes you have skills, but you're here in a corner and there's someone in another corner who have needs of the skills that you have, and platforms like this, forums, conferences, etc., where persons meet, shake hands, and interact is where some of these persons, they make connections and are able to make magic happen. So yeah, so this sounds really exciting. Well,
and the last network that I want to talk about that I think is really important, and this is some government and institutional level. In Trinidad and Tobago, through the ministry, it was then the Ministry of Arts and Culture, but now it has changed to the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture. They saw the need to support the creative industries by having a specific department responsible for culture and building the creatives. And as a
Mm-hmm.
result of that, they would have formed an artist registry, which is a database of a collection of artists throughout Trinidad and Tobago in the different genre and feel of their work. And to be listed in this industry, you have to show that you've been an operational practicing artist for a period of time, really have your supporting samples and promotion of your work. And the registry facilitates artists in many ways. One, through grant funding. So yes, I was able to receive grant funding during COVID as a practicing artist and not being able to perform the art at that point in time. Also through workshops and masterclass trainings where you get to learn from other persons who have been in the industry for years and have so much knowledge that they could impact upon one another. And also, again, a community network. The network also, the coalition actually also look out to the artists when it comes to government policies and where we see the creative industries being in the country, where the gaps, where the areas to grow, that sort of thing. So the artist registry, I think, is also a very useful resource specifically for artists and creatives within Trinidad and Tobago. And it covers a wide field. It covers literature to publications, graphic designs, communication, new media, theater arts, dance, performing arts. It's a wide category of different fields that you could apply for to be registered in this artist registry.
No, after listening to you talk there, I think that you're really fulfilling your role as the communication specialist there. I mean, I just saw public relations officer for all of these particular groups that would have been mentioned there. So if it is that you are the PRO, then you're being. I'm not too sure if you're being the salary.
No, I'm just a normal member, just talking about the systems and the supports that they offer for artists, creatives in this region.
All right. Well, if you were, you would be with. I mean, you would be with a retainer. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You mentioned something. You mentioned workshops earlier, and I see that again on your website that you're no stranger to workshops. Have you hosted any workshops on self-publishing?
Yes, in terms of my work that I do, so after I published my first book in 2020, I decided that, I went through the self-publishing process for myself, and it was a bit of research, getting to know what it entails, asking what is a publisher versus what is self-publishing, the resources that are there, understanding the purpose and the use of Amazon and KDP versus going to a traditional printer and all of those things. So I felt it was really important to package all that information and that material in one place and share it to other persons who may be interested in the self-publishing journey. And that has been a niche that I've been doing in Books by LR for the last, I would say, 3 years now. And I've worked with a series of persons towards publishing their books, their materials out to the public. I will say it's a very new field in terms of self-publishing in the Caribbean. I think a lot of people still don't know the ins and outs, don't understand what is needed, what isn't needed. Some people don't understand what is an ISBN number, what is the copyrights to your book, the difference between just editing the book versus formatting and really getting ready for printing and publishing. So I think these workshops that I host really provides that platform, that avenue to, one, educate persons, two, at the end of the day, to actually take a cultural service or product and put it out into the market for public consumption. Because people need to understand creative industries. Yes, you do things because you have passion and you like it, but you need to know how to publish a book completely from idea, conceptualization of the idea to actual final product on a shelf in a store that could actually generate income and earnings. And those are what my workshops tend to do. Really educate persons from conceptualization of the idea all the way to the self-publishing process. So lately I've been running workshops called Think It, Write It, Publish It, which is a really step-by-step guide that really advocates the entire process of somebody who really wants to get into the idea of publishing their book and going through that publishing journey with them.
No, that what you're saying there, it sounds very interesting. It sounds similar, in fact, to another author who I had interviewed recently. Believe it or not, the fields are different. The author focuses on the field of agriculture, and she does a couple of workshops as well. And the focus of her workshops is to let persons know, here's what I mean. You may be a farmer, however, what makes the difference between you and other farmers is how you market and promote your business. And you're not just, planting on picking crops. You must um, foster relationships with other persons, with suppliers, etc. You must advertise to get your products out there and actually start viewing yourself as not just a guy who's just planting and picking, but rather as a businessman who is promoting and selling. And I'm listening.
Exactly.
No, and I'm listening to you here, and you're talking about creatives, and for example, something as writing a book. And some authors who I actually the majority of authors who I speak with, they're saying at the beginning of their journey, they're thinking, okay, we write the book, we get the book out there, that's the end of the story. However, I mean, what they learn later on is that's pretty much the beginning of the thing. They have to learn different skills like marketing, promoting, and in your case, if it is that they are a self-published author as well, they have to learn the self-publishing ropes as well and start viewing it not just as, a pet project or a passion project, but rather as a means of possibly generating sustainable income. So
Exactly.
and that is very interesting. And I think what you're offering, I think if the perspective changes on that, I think we would have uh, persons would actually have a different view as to what it is that they do. And with a different view, that would lead to persons moving differently.
Agreed. I totally agree. Totally endorse it 150%.
Okay. Well, after we've spoken a bit about your book, we've spoken a little bit about the skills and stuff that you've had. Can we talk a little bit about how the reception of your book has been, not just in the market in Tobago, but maybe in the wider regions?
Definitely. I think when I decided to put out this book, I really did not conceptualize or think about my initial reach and my initial audience at first. But I
Mm-hmm.
must say, I've been having a lot of good traction. I actually showcased my book in Sharjah, that's in the Middle East. There's a book fair there. I showcased my book there. I've had persons who purchased my books based in the US, based in Suriname, based in Amsterdam. So I've been really targeting not only the local Tobago space, United Tobago space, but I've actually really been trying to push my book global. I do agree sometimes it's very hard for Caribbean authors to find places in the international field for their books, and more so poetry books take a smaller part of the margin. So definitely a poetry book is a bit harder to sell than other types of genre of books. But I think it just takes consistency, it just takes people keep on trying, talk about your book. You have to speak to the book. You have to market the book and really put the book out there for other persons to see the purpose and the reasoning for your book. If it's just a passion project and you just want to publish your book to just keep as a memorabilia and a keepsake for you, that's fine. But if your overall goal is really tapping into the market and pushing your book out there, you really have to do a lot of the marketing and the promotion and the work yourself, especially once you're self-publishing.
I mean, what you're saying there has been very interesting. I mean, you identify the different markets of persons who are interested in your book. Book fairs in the Middle East, persons from Suriname, Amsterdam, etc. That is a far, that is like a really great distance from Tobago. Um, if that is the case, and you seem to find different markets, I mean, I think there's a proverb that I'm not too sure if I'm going to misquote the proverb or the saying. I think it's like a prophet is without honor except in his own country or something.
Country.
Oh gosh, and she laughs,
Maybe what I found too is that generally, unfortunately, our population, I guess, doesn't read a lot or don't appreciate to purchase books a lot. So I have been making a more conscious effort to push out to other markets that may be a bit more receptive. Yes, there are persons who will support, who will feel proud that you produce a local book, etc. But the buying population in my space is a bit smaller. So that's why I've been making a conscious effort also to tap into a lot more regional and international markets as I continue to promote my work.
No, fair enough, fair enough. You mentioned the book festivals in the Middle East. Have you tried visiting book festivals within the Caribbean islands? Because I know in Trinidad there's the Book-a-Lit Fest. I think in Jamaica after COVID, but well, because of COVID there wasn't any Calabash, but I think this year there was
Yes, they had
Calabash.
Calabash this year. I'm very much aware of Jake and Treasure Beach and Calabash. It was actually supposed to attend this year, but it didn't work out in terms of my schedule. But Calabash is on my list of things to do. I
Mhm.
definitely would like to go to Treasure Beach and be a part of the Calabash Festival. it's on my list. I've also done smaller reading fest right here in Tobago. For example, the Tobago Writers Guild, we do have our reading fest and literary affairs that we promote and do to promote local artists. Also attended a few lit bookers fest workshops and all of those things. I haven't really featured my book there. It's been something on my list of things to do because I have spoken to the organizers about it. So I think it's a work in progress. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a work in progress. The thing is, publishing by book and having it out there, I'm not a full-time author, so I'm juggling a lot. And I think sometimes at first people don't realize how much work it really takes to really get a book out there and to market it and promote it, attend all these festivals, attend all these fairs, attend all these reading and literature programs. It really takes a lot out of you. So I guess it's about scheduling and mapping the resources, right? But yes, there are a lot of things on my list to do with this book while I have others in train to come on the market soon enough.
Okay, okay. I mean, in addition to Bukalit Fest, I mean, I came across a couple of others, and I think I might want to check visit some of those. I mean, because they sound interesting. I think there's the BIM Literary Festival in Barbados. There's I think it's Nature Island Literary Festival in Dominica, and I think Saint Martin has a book fair as well. But I mean, I'll do a bit more research, find out the times, and who knows, I might find myself there and encounter other authors like yourself to be exposed to the work that they do. The book that you done was primarily poetry. Do you see yourself exploring like a different genre of book anytime soon, whether, I don't know, action, comedy, romance, science fiction, historical novel?
Sure. So I do have two other manuscripts that I'm currently working on, but I guess it's just about timing. I feel that I haven't exhausted the full life of this book yet, and I still wanted to put a little bit more emphasis on it, sorry. But definitely soon I do expect to bring out two other books that has to do a bit more with nonfiction. One is a bit more of autobiography, so to speak about certain aspects in my life. And then there's another book that I'm working on. So yes, I do have some projects, but I don't want to talk too much about them as yet.
Okay, now no problem. You know, sometimes it's best to like hold it close to your chest and not let persons know your next move when it happens. You know, we're surprised and we're delightfully so surprised.
Yes, I agree.
One of the things you mentioned is that, in terms of books, one of the things about the population here is that it's either you mentioned persons may not read or they're not too keen on purchasing books. I want to focus on the part where persons may not read as much. I mean, in your experience and in your writings, do you think that there's anything that can be done to improve that situation, encourage reading a bit more?
Well, I think generally the population needs to understand to read. Literacy is important. So I think from the school, from the foundational level, I know, for example, the Tobago Writers Guild, when there's normally World Read Aloud Day, we go to primary schools and encourage persons to read. I also am a part of several youth groups, and we do encourage the reading aspect of it. So I think we have been encouraging people to read. But I must say, I guess it's just culture. Reading doesn't seem as exciting as probably the TV and the tablet and the cell phone, especially for the young persons. But I still encourage people as much as possible, everybody that I get into contact with, I encourage them to read something daily. If it's not a complete book, read an article, read something from the newspaper, just read. Because I think with reading, one, you're improving your literacy skills. Two, you're improving your educational skills. And I think the more you read, I think the wider you get into the world, because a lot of people, you may not get to visit somewhere or you may not have had that experience in person. But I guess if you read, you open yourself to a wide range of experiences and information. So definitely there is more work needed as it relates to literacy skills and encouraging people to read. So things that I do at Books by LR, things that the different creative groups and associations that I do that promote reading, I think it's always needed and should be encouraged.
I mean, from your experience, if you could give 3 tips to a parent for a child to inculcate into them good reading habits, what 3 tips do you think you would give to them?
Okay, for me, one, definitely buy a few reading books, storybooks. There's something about holding a book in your hand that there's an art of holding a book. There's just this art of creasing the paper, putting the bookmarker in, having your finger go across the pages as you're reading. I think those kind of things we really need to encourage young persons to read. So parents should buy books. 2, find time to sit and read with them. Truth be told is that human beings pattern by nature. So if you grow up in a family that is very literary focused, where everybody always reading, writing, and speaking, then most likely you will get that pattern of reading time, and it will become natural for them to say, "Mommy or Daddy, now is reading time. You didn't read the book to me today, or I didn't see you read today." So I think you need to encourage us. I know sometimes we're so busy with our lives, with the business of the world, that, set aside time for reading, even if it's 20 minutes a day, or every few days you do like an hour, 2 hours of reading. I think that is really important. And then the last thing I would want to say is to promote a bit of our local culture. Because even though the young people are reading, unfortunately, they may find it easier to buy maybe the Harry Potter series or some more fancy novel, and sometimes they don't see value in some of the local authors that are producing just as good content. So I am strongly advocating for local content. So finding a balance between the nice, funny things that you see on Netflix and the best novels that you're seeing on Amazon and all that, but also supporting local authors, because they're pulling from our history, they're pulling from our heritage, they're pulling from our life, learned stories, and then embedding that in a book and then translating that back to the public. And in that way is where, society, culture continues to go on if we have it in writing, and people keep reading and really embodying and appreciating in those information.
From your observation, when you go to like bookstores, Trinidad, Tobago, or maybe even in the other small islands, etc., you had mentioned like support local. Do you think that enough local books are available to the population to purchase, or even if they are, do you think that they're promoted as much as the Harry Potter? Not knocking Harry Potter or anything like that.
No, we're not. Yeah. I think more work needs to be done. I know there is a local bookstore that I go to in Tobago, and there is a local author shelf. So all the local authors' books are on that shelf, including my book. It's not moving as fast as the other books, whether textbooks or whether other books, etc. So I believe there is work being done, but visibility definitely needs a little bit more marketing and promotion, not only from the author itself, because a lot of the times when I go to local bookstores, you're like, okay, we're taking your book on consignment, and if it gets sold, then we pay you. Or you have to bring your marketing materials. You need to boost it a little bit more. And I do think there needs to be a bit more promotion and features from the bookstore side too. Promoting local authors' books. I think that part is needed. I've not seen that part. So some are willing to take the books on the shelf, but they don't do the promotions itself. You still have to promote and tell people where to go find your book. So there needs a little bit more work. But slowly we're getting there, but more resources and more time and more work need to be spent on it.
Okay, well said, well said. Well, you say that certain bookstores that you go to, your books are on the shelves. If persons wanted to get copies of your book, where can we get copies of them?
Sure, you can get copies of my book at Lamb's Best Mart, that's in Tobago. You could also get it at TLH Mall. You can get copies of my book there. You can definitely get copies of my book also online, and it's also on Planting Seeds Caribbean. We do have a store, Books by LRs, there, so you can order it online.
Okay. Books by Latoyaa Roberts. Yes.
Latoyaa
Roberts. Okay. Thank you for that. We're coming to the end of our interview. Anything you want to leave with your listeners at this point in time? Any words of encouragement, any words of advice to persons who may be listening to this podcast right now?
I will say, if you have an idea for a book, if you're thinking about how to generate your ideas, it's your intellectual property. And as a creative, everybody's a creative, and you just need to understand how to put it together, how to package it, and then how to sell it back out into the world. I encourage you to start thinking about it, write it down, and then eventually publish it. Definitely, sometimes we have so many great ideas and we don't action them. especially as it relates to the literature and creative fields. I'm encouraging the creatives today. Let's action them. Let's make those cultural products, those cultural services, those cultural assets, and let's send it out to the world to see.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Latoyaa Roberts. Latoyaa, thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed by Tropical Literature Creatives.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Okay, well, we look forward to hearing about your plans and your progress in the year 2024. And when the other books do come out, we look forward to interviewing you about around that time as well.
Definitely.
Okay, goodbye. You've been listening to TLC, Tropical Literature Creators. If you've heard something of interest or something you like, reach out to us. Reach out to our authors. Follow us on social media. We look forward to hearing from you.